Hello, and welcome to another Spending Window podcast. This is the home of intermittent spending and how you could use time restrictions to improve your finances. We're going to be talking about the different types of spending windows, and we're also going to talk about our favorites. And when I say our, I mean my co author, Angelo DeRosalie. And let me bring him into the picture here. There he is. Welcome to the show, Angelo. We're going to be talking about spending windows today, specifically the different types of spending windows, different spending windows. And I hopefully will get to my favorite, hopefully your personal favorite spending window as well. How you doing today?
Doing great, Dan. Thanks for having me.
So spending windows, we talked about what a spending window was on the past podcast. It's in our book, The Spending Window. We're talking about creating some restrictions on actual when you spend, not worried about what you're spending just yet. We're really talking about being mindful on your spending. And to do that, we create windows or opportunities in which you spend. So in the book, we outline several different types of windows, and I just want to go through them real quick and then maybe get some commentary from you on these. And also we'll get to your personal favorite and my personal favorite. So I put on here traditional because this is the most traditional spending window we see, and that's the 16-8. And this one is traditional because we really see it a lot in intermittent fasting when it comes to food and dietary restrictions. So we decided we'd call this the traditional spending window as well, the 16-8. I would also say it's probably our most popular spending window. Would you agree?
Absolutely.
So what do you think about the 16-8, or how would you describe it?
I think it's a great starting point for most people. I mean, maybe there are some others like the Weekender, but the 16-8 is it's very doable. It fits with most lifestyles. It allows you a daily window to have the opportunity to spend within, so you're not stuck being a number of days without being able to spend. So it tends to appeal to everyone in the beginning.
Yeah, and 16 represents the 16 hours that you're not spending, and the 8 represent 8 hours of day consecutive that you are spending. Um, I, it is traditional, and the science behind it for intermittent fasting is definitely going to be different than the intermittent spending. But 8 hours is pretty long. So I think when people do that traditionally, when they start in this, it's easy for them to ease into because you'd be surprised how much spending you can do in 8 hours.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So many people in the beginning find that it's even more time than they require. So
Yeah.
you could even go, 18.6 or something for that matter.
Right, right. And that's definitely something people do is they change it over time. You mentioned this other one, the weekender. This is where you spend only on weekends or you don't spend anything on weekends. Either way, we call it the weekender because you're focused on that weekend. And this is a good one because you for a lot of people, most of their spending, discretionary, non-essential spending happens on the weekends.
Yeah, definitely. Uh, if you're gonna not spend on the weekends, that's doable in the beginning. If you're gonna try the opposite way, where you don't spend all week, that requires a little bit of working up to. It's like trying to go out and run a marathon from day one. You need to work and train and build up to that. So, again, when we say weekender, for the person that's new to this concept, you're probably looking at limiting your spending on the weekends and then trying to do the bulk of your spending during the week.
I think a lot of people find it difficult because they do a lot of the fun spending on weekends, the traditional work week, Monday through Friday. Weekends are then, wow, now I can't spend money. And I see a lot of people using this to jumpstart a spending or a savings regime. They figure, let's just try it out and let's go really difficult right away, which can be discouraging for a lot of people.
Right. But you could also do this as when we say weekender, it doesn't mean the entire weekend. You may choose on just Friday not spend, or just Friday night, just nights on the weekends, or any permutation of the above.
Of course, and all these windows are definitely customizable, as we'll get to later. But I think the idea of having the term weekender is kind of fun and exciting and easy to remember. So we had to list it there because it is one of the recommended starting points for a lot of our readers. Next one I want to talk about is the every other day. So this would be, all right, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, Sunday, or something like that. Or basically you're taking a full day off, and that would be a 24-hour plus period of absolutely no spending.
Such an interesting one here. You're talking about not going too far between periods where your window's open and you're able to spend. So at most you're going 24 hours, but at the same time, 24 hours is long enough that you're going to feel it, and you're going to reach for that credit card or the wallet or the swipe right on Amazon, and you're going to have to think about that and wait for your window to open up. So definitely you're going to feel it during that 24 hours, but at the same time, it's really not that long to have to wait. And then that also gives you a day where you're free to spend as you wish.
I think this one also forces the most mindfulness initially, because you have to be thinking about, it's easy to remember on the weekends, I'm not spending, I got all week to plan for that. But the every other day, oh, is today Wednesday? I'm not supposed to spend. And it really throws people for a loop, which is probably a good thing, because the idea is to change behavior. So you want to have that little shock to the system. And I think this one is pretty shocking.
Yeah, absolutely.
The next one is that I want to talk about is the extended fast. So this is going to be a week or more. When we talked about the weekender, you said you can go. I said you could reverse it, only spend on the weekends. That would mean 5 full days of non-spending. This I'm saying the extended fast is something even longer. So a week of not spending. Some people go a couple of weeks. We've even seen people go a month. And I've actually talked with people, and maybe we'll actually bring them on our podcast. The people have gone a full year of fasting, intermittent, of not spending anything. Now, obviously, that's not reasonable, and we could talk about the details there. But for the purposes of this podcast, the extended fast is truly not spending any money for a long time, and it's going to take a lot of planning.
Certainly, it'll take a lot of planning. Certainly takes an investment from those around you, because for most people, it would not go unnoticed if you didn't spend any money for a week or more, for that matter. But at the same time, if you could do this and you could achieve a week, doing 16/8 or a weekend or every other day would be no problem after that. So we've had some that kind of jump into the pool, so to speak, by doing it this way, and then find it's very easy to settle into a more long-lasting pattern.
I think when it comes to the analogy that we often use, which is intermittent fasting and not eating, the extended fast is something that a lot of times you need to involve a medical professional with you, because you're going to be doing some physical changes to your body. When it comes to an extended fast for intermittent spending, you can get right into it. You could try it and see what happens. Worst case scenario, you spend money. It's a learning process. I think a lot of people look at it as a way to start like a juice cleanse. Like, let's just clean out my system mentally on spending, and start, and just to get a baseline for what I do spend money on, what I miss the most.
Yeah, very interesting one. Definitely not for those faint of heart who wish to start on this path. But if you could do this one and get it started, the rest will be a piece of cake.
What I do want to point out is one of the main things that people say when we say, oh, we're going to do a spending fast, we're not going to spend any money for 2 days or 7 days. The main thing is they say, wait, you're going to just overspend when that window opens. And I want to just tease the listeners here. We're going to do a podcast specifically on that point, because it's one that comes up quite frequently.
Sure.
So jumping to the next one, and basically the last one here, customized. So all these windows can be customized. In fact, that's the point of intermittent spending, is to find something that works for you. So just because we say a 16/8 doesn't mean, like you said, you can't go to a 18/6 or a 24. There's plenty of different ways to do things. Maybe you said instead of every other day, you just don't spend on Fridays and Wednesdays. It's something to get you to become more mindful. So customized windows are probably what winds up happening for most people anyway.
And don't forget too that just if you pick one formula or one blueprint that you plan to adhere to most of the time, let's go with the 16/8 for example, or the every other day. It doesn't mean that that's what you're stuck with all the time. So I'd say everyone really falls in the end into some kind of customizable window. You may modify your window during holiday seasons, vacations, surrounding major life events, weddings and whatnot. But you know you're not stuck with one plan, and you could wax and wane, or flip between plans. The main point though is just be aware, and do it with some form of intent, rather than succumbing to the immediate needs, or impulse decisions.
Yeah, and as we said before, I think trying out something for 30 days is is a pretty good benchmark. If you can say, I'm going to try the uh, weekender, do it for 4 weekends and see where that leads. Don't give up on it after one weekend. Give it some time. So before we get into which one is our personal favorite, I want to ask what you think the biggest pitfall is when creating a window or trying to implement a window. What is the biggest pitfall you see? I already know the answer that you're going to say, so I have it written down here for you. But because you always say it, am I right? Am I right? Is that what?
Being too rigid and too harsh on yourself is just a recipe for disaster. If you have to allow for some of life's unexpected curveballs, or other things that are just unforeseen. That's life. And that doesn't mean you get completely derailed. It doesn't mean that you have to abandon the plan. So if you set up to do an every other day window, for example, and on your no spend day, something comes up that that you find yourself spending. It may be legitimate, it may be illegitimate. It doesn't mean you can't recover and fall right back into where you'd like to be. So that would be um, my number one
Pitfall.
issue,
Yeah.
number one pitfall. And then part of that would also be, um, again, and it's related to the first, just not accommodating for the unexpected. You just have to realize that illnesses are going to come up. Unexpected positive events are going to come up where you need to you want to go celebrate something, and don't let the window stop that from happening. But at the same point, be mindful of what occurred, and and figure out how you can remain on your path overall, towards your common goal.
And you got to remember the whole point of this isn't to just be so rigid that you've succeeded in mastering the weekender. The point of it is to create mindfulness. And you could create mindfulness and be mindful and break the rules
Right.
because you're aware of it. And
Right.
there you go. Right. So, my biggest pitfall, maybe not when creating when creating a window and implementing it, is people forgetting about the reoccurring expenses. I can't stress it enough. When we say creating a spending window, you're not spending anything. You can't forget that you're going to have certain expenses that are in the back, are out of sight, out of mind. So you have to bring them in the fold. So when you're creating a window, don't forget about that recurring monthly expense that it's on automatic pilot, so you don't think about it, but it's still expenditure. So we have a whole chapter on that in the book, but I think people kind of, it's easy to keep things reoccurring. It's hard to stop them and think about it and purposefully make that expenditure. But I think it's an important thing to remember. So that being said, Ange, let's wrap up by telling the listeners what your personal favorite window is. And let's say for, I was going to say, let's do it for beginners, but let's just say overall, what would be your personal favorite and why?
Some form of a daily window. So to go with what we discussed, I'd say the 16/8. Maybe it's an 18/6, maybe it's a 24 or 22/2 for that matter. In any event, it allows you time to spend every single day. So you're not really going too far between being able to get what you need to buy or purchase or spend. And I think it also can be personally tailored. So, for example, um, the duration of when the window's open can be adjusted. So you could be 16:8 during the week, and on the weekends be maybe narrow it down a little more. So you're maybe 20 closed and 4 open on the weekends. And additionally, it's something that can be tailored over time. So you can narrow that. In the beginning, you might need 8 hours to spend, and then you can tailor it down. And my final point is that everybody's a little different in terms of the times when they tend to be most impulsive with their spending. Some people are night owls and they tend to be up in the middle of the night and maybe find that their purchases they're making at those times are not as well thought out or more impulsive than other people. Other people may find that in the middle of after school activities and running around to get dinner on the table, you tend to be a little quicker just to allow purchases to be made that you may have needed to think out a little quicker. So, for example, it's easier to stop at the local takeout restaurant, at 5 p.m. So maybe your window needs to be modified so that you kind of put a forced stop at that point, so you can't do that purchase.
So we're going to say a custom window. You cheated. You didn't pick one. You said custom, but maybe that's it. You start with the everyday thing and you customize it to really battle your spending demons, for lack of a better phrase. Basically, let's make this uncomfortable, but you start off easy and then work your way in. I gotcha. Okay. My personal favorite is the every other day. The every other day window is my personal favorite because I feel this really forces you to think, because it's one thing to say, I'm going to put all my spending in a 4-hour period or an 8-hour period, but every day you have that chance. Every other day forces you to truly fast for a full day. And that really disrupts learned behavior. It disrupts the afternoon snack soda or the morning coffee, or it disrupts the late night expenditure. It really changes the person's behavior quickly. And people don't like it because it gets them to realize, but after a while you start to say, man, that's good. Maybe you'll form new habits where you only spend on Monday, Wednesday, Friday. Well, then you switch things up. But I really like the way the every other day forces you to think and pause, even if it's to remember what day of the week it is, especially for the retirees. What day of the week is it? Is it a spending day or not?
That's a good one. Well, we've definitely touched upon some of the different windows, and they're all customizable, and they're not one size fits all, which is the beauty of this program. We look forward to hearing from you as to what windows you've tried, what you're looking to achieve. We have a number of viewers out there that would love to connect with you and share their experiences.
Yeah. And if you want to write in the comments of this video what your personal favorite window is and why, and maybe we'll learn something from you. And in the next edition of the book, we'll add a new style of window that we haven't even thought about yet. So thanks, Angelo, for a good show, and tune in next time